everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are excited today to be here. We are talking about Christmas movies, non-Hallmark. This is our second week doing this episode. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Terry's here.
Hi.
And Michelle is here.
Hey.
Yes. I'm so glad you both are here because I've been slacking. I've just had so much else to do. I've only watched 3 non-Hallmark Christmas movies, so I'm failing in the battle of Rachel versus Christmas movies are winning. I'm afraid, but yeah, it's there's just so much, and you're only one set of eyeballs, unfortunately. But I'm glad you both are here to help talk about some of these movies. But Michelle, you weren't here last week. How do you feel overall the Christmas movie season has been? We've had about a month of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm so behind as well. Like I haven't even watched last week's Lifetime movies yet, and I think I've watched like a handful of Hallmark, if that. But that's not like unusual for me. I tend to, because we do the non-Hallmark stuff, I tend to just focus on that. And then the month of December, when I have time off, I'll do like a massive binge of like the ones that you guys are really like hyped on in terms of like Hallmark. So it's I get the benefit of all of your hard work, and I just like go for all of the ones that are like rise to the top. But I mean,
Yeah.
there's nothing that is really like amazing for me yet. I'm still waiting on that. Plenty of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of average just now, which I think we expected when we saw the sort of lineup from Lifetime.
Yeah, I would say too. There hasn't been that much that I've like loved, but from any of the networks, but a lot of like solid, entertaining stuff. Would you agree, Terry?
Yeah. I haven't nothing, just a few outright terrible. Lifetime last week. I'm still not recovered, Rachel. But yeah, I think it's mostly solid this year. Not too bad.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dive in. Let's talk about I think the biggest release, I guess, of the ones we're going to talk about. Christmas in Spotlight. This was the big Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce fanfic film that Lifetime released. And I interviewed Irene Donahue for the podcast, who's the writer, and that was fun to get to talk with her. It's director Michelle Alouette and stars Jessica Lord and Laith Walsh-Legger. A famous singer and football star begin dating, but their budding romance faces intense public scrutiny, forcing them to decide if their connection is real or merely a publicity stunt by the end of the Christmas season. So for me about this movie, it is extremely cheesy. It's not like a good movie, but I thought for like what it was trying to be, it was like entertaining. I liked these two. I liked how nerdy Laith played Drew. You know, he was awkward and uncomfortable. He was, and I thought they had like decent chemistry. Again, for like something soapy, something silly, I thought it was entertaining enough. Maybe that's a low bar, but for something like this, I thought it was pretty fun. What do you think, Terry, of this one?
I mean this with all due respect, but this is the perfect definition of fan fiction, this movie.
Yeah. I agree.
And then throw some melodrama in it just because. And I think it's entertaining for those reasons. So you don't go into it seriously.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, what's hot right now? Let's do this. And I think it's like a perfect like teen melodrama. They're not teens, but like I could just see that age group and stuff like, oh, I love this. This is fun. And I agree with you, Rachel, basically. It's cheesy. It's got likable actors and their characters are likable, but man, it's like it's so funny. I'm like, I don't even know who these real people are. Like, if my family was held hostage and they said name 5 Taylor Swift songs, I'd be like, I love you, goodbye, because I wouldn't be able to do it. So I had no idea what the big, the
Can
big.
I do 5?
I couldn't, Rachel. My family would
Oh,
die. They would win, and I would be like, take me with you.
there's like Tim McGraw, Trouble. Um,
Yeah.
there's more, but they're in there
Yeah.
somewhere, but
I'm old. I don't know who any of these young people are singing anymore.
I
But so I mean, I know the hype
I
around here, but I don't really like know too much of
no,
who's involved in that hype and that celebrity like coupling. But I thought it was amusing enough.
I'm with you.
Clearly, though,
I don't follow
clearly
pop
them.
music like at all. And I used to
Mm.
like when I was a teenager, uh but I just current I don't. And so when I did go see the Taylor Swift whatever concert last year. uh I mean, I went to see the Taylor Swift movie of the concert last
Yeah.
year, and it was so funny. Like the people next to me were like, they knew every line to every song, and I'm just here. I was like, I think I maybe knew 3 songs of the whole night.
But but because I mean, I know the hoopla around it, but I'm not so intimately, I'm not a sports fan. I'm not a Taylor fan. And, because I just don't know her music. Like, I've gotten to
Yeah,
the point in my life where I'm just old enough where, like, I'm just going to listen to the stuff I listened to when I was younger. I've just gotten cranky that way.
yeah,
But it's so blatantly them and who they, but just a nicer version. And I don't know them in real life, but those characters almost seemed like they wouldn't actually be celebrities. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like they're almost too down to earth.
I appreciated it that it had like a little bit more spice. It was like that to me,
Oh
like
yeah.
added to the fan
Hmm.
fiction-y element of it,
Oh
you know,
totally. That was
that
fun. Like,
that felt like a soap opera kind of a thing. I don't
Oh
know,
yes.
like
Yeah.
that's you kind of expect something like a little bit trashy from this kind of fan fiction,
Yeah.
you
It's
know.
it's
You
cute.
expect a little bit. I Michelle, did you guys watch this one?
I did, yeah.
What'd you think?
Um, I mean, I'm sort of the same. I'm not like a massive Taylor Swift fan. I am familiar with like a couple of her albums. Um, like Folklore, I really like because that
Yeah.
is just a folk album. And that's sort of the type of music that I've gotten into kind of recently. Um, and our new album is just like I do like doom scroll on TikTok constant. And it's just inescape like her music is just inescapable. Especially like the new album that she put out. So I'm like familiar with like parts of it. Couldn't name a single one of them, but like I'm
We're all
like
like such losers.
I
Taylor Swift,
realized
all
that when I was
three of
watching
us.
this. I sort of realized that when I was watching this movie that I'm just so far removed from what is current, like in music and stuff like that. And I was like, oh
There's
well,
the fairy tale song, Romeo, tell me the
no
pretty
idea.
love I know you. That's where the story goes.
Oh
Yeah,
my God,
there's
I just
that.
keep thinking if they kidnapped my family and they called me for a ransom. All I had to do was name 5 songs. I would be like, oh, I'm out. I loved
I
you.
I got 3. I got 3. There's the fairy tale song, Tim McGraw, and Trouble. That's the only 3 I know. Uh, but yeah, I mean, we're probably like the 3 least qualified people to be reviewing a movie about Taylor Swift.
yeah, and I literally don't know who Travis Kelce is. Like
Me
I've
neither.
never seen a game of football, American football in my life. I've no idea.
Me neither.
You're not missing much. It's pretty
Honestly,
boring.
if they both delivered pizza to my house, I wouldn't recognize them. So out of the loop.
I don't think I'm that bad, but like, yeah,
I probably wouldn't, Rachel. I have face blindness with certain people. I probably would not.
Well, we would be the perfect people if they if Taylor and Travis wanted to be treated like ordinary people, and not famous movie stars. They should come to any of our homes because
Yes.
three of us would be like, okay, hi. Who are you
Here's a
again?
broom. Help me clean up.
Yeah. But basically, like their relationship is like he's got this like rivalry with his brother, and but he he's like close with his niece and his
Oh, that's an
niece.
adorable relationship, him and his niece in that movie.
Yeah.
It's super
and
cute.
and then through various shenanigans they end up getting set up together. He takes his niece to the concert. They end up backstage. That's how they meet. And it's basically like it's kind of like a royal movie, really, when you think about it. She's
Yes, it
basically a
has.
princess,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know. And can we be together, or is it just in the public eye? But I would you agree
Oh,
that he was like I thought he was appealing. She was fine, but I thought he was the more
he was.
appealing.
Yes, he was very
Yeah.
appealing. He
Yeah.
was so goofy and like
Yeah.
down to earth character-wise, and I loved when he's like baking the what was it, lasagna? And like he just did
Hmm.
like he was it was a great casting for his part because he was so likable, so like charming. And you need
Yeah.
that like to pull off this like this type of movie.
Yeah. He
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
nerdy, and that's what I liked about it. Kind
Yeah.
of had like a nerdy energy,
Oh,
which
but
was
like her ex-boyfriend, he was an actor. I just loved how he had somebody following him around with a video
oh,
and the light
yeah.
thing, like to record every his moment. And I was like, yes, because sometimes you walk down the street and because everybody's doing this stuff now, you do run across with people filming each other with lights and stuff, and you're like, okay, but it was so funny and so bizarre. But and
It
he
is a
was,
bizarre world that we live in where like you you can't even hardly eat anything hot anymore because I gotta wait and take the picture.
I
Have it like
know.
perfectly. Like what a
It
weird
was so
world.
funny. I went to a convention recently and we decided to get like selfies with the actors instead of like going for like professional photos. And it was all just like ran really smoothly, and either they would take your phone or like the person that was handling them would take your phone and take a picture. And we
Nice.
went up to we went to Melissa Joan Hart, um, and we went to like take out her phone, and she took her phone off us and clipped the light to it.
Oh gosh.
She
I
had
mean,
like
she
a whole
is a
lighting.
professional, right? She
Yeah,
She
would
she had like
know.
knows.
she's like such a pro. She had like all of these lights and she's like holding it up and she's like all the different angles and stuff. We ended up like five
Ah,
different pictures. It was so funny.
oh, that's
It's like, oh
so
my
great
god.
That's
too.
nice of her though.
That was
Like
Yeah,
really
it was
nice. Yeah.
all the photos turned out amazing. Because she
because
was like, you're getting your
that
money's
would
worth
make
here.
me want to get a photo op with her because
Yeah.
sometimes the whole experience of photo ops can be kind of unpleasant. In my opinion, like they just like
Yeah.
shove you in there. You've got like
Yeah,
30
some of them are
seconds, and
brutal, yeah.
like
Hmm.
whether you look good or not, and
Hmm.
yeah. So that's good to know.
I like it better like the selfies or like when you take the picture yourself. It just feels
I
so much more
agree.
natural.
I
You've got a
Hmm.
agree.
few minutes to
And
relax.
cheaper.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Those things. Well, what would we give Christmas in Spotlight? I mean, it's by no means a good movie. You could easily roast it. And
Hmm.
I mean, it's by no means like a great movie. You could easily roast it and like do one of those commentary things on YouTube where it's like because it's very cheesy, it's very silly,
Yeah.
it's obvious fan fiction. That's what it is. But I still had a pretty good time with it. I enjoyed it, and
Same.
I do think it's elevated by pretty good casting and by Irene's writing. I think she's like a solid writer for
Yeah, I agree.
she's a better writer than this movie deserves. I think than the
But it is, I mean, it does, you have to write a fan fiction about this real life super couple, and this passes that test.
yeah,
It's just
exactly.
enough different so you don't get sued.
Yeah.
And I think it passes. I mean, I was annoyed by that one Christmas song over and over that she was singing, but then I got past it. And I was like, this is what you want
Yeah.
from something like this. A little cheesy, a little
Yeah.
melodrama-ish. And this passed the test of what you want.
Yeah. So I'd give this like a 3.75, I think, as far as what would you give it out of five, Terry?
I think I'm gonna give it the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
3.5. Like I was entertained, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was entertained.
What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I'll probably give it a three. I mean, I think for me, it's like it's nowhere
Mm.
near as like cringy and cheesy as it could have been. I
Yeah.
Mm,
mean, some of those
yeah.
like based on like William and Harry like relationship
Oh,
movies are
yeah.
like
Woo!
those are like excruciating. Like like I couldn't watch any of them. And there's like a couple of little moments here where you're like, oh my god, but at the end of the day, like it's nowhere near what it could have been. And I think, like you say, they cast it really well. And for
Yeah,
me, it really doesn't work without him. I
Yeah.
think the
yeah.
casting of him is probably the best and smartest part of the whole thing. So yeah, I would
Yeah.
go with three stars.
Yeah. I mean, when you compare it to something like when Lifetime used to do those unauthorized true stories of like Full House and Beverly Hills, those are like so bad. Like this is definitely better than that.
Yeah.
So the the bar wasn't that high on this movie, let's be real.
Ho, ho, ho! We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
Okay, the other film from Lifetime was Sincerely Truly Christmas, that was this weekend. And this movie is directed by Sean Cisterna, writer Matthew Thaler, Jake Epstein, and Paula Brancati. A magical Christmas wish gives an event planner the ability to hear what everyone wants for the holidays. Overall, I think this movie was like pretty cute. Like it was a fun concept, her getting this like power to hear. It was basically like what women want, which is a movie I hate, but done nice for Christmas.
Right.
Kind of with like a Christmas skin over it. I don't think these two had like any chemistry at all, but
None.
Jake
Absolutely
was like
none.
Oh
charming
no.
enough and she was pleasant, that it was
Yeah.
fine. Um all the like shenanigans about the the pop star and the album and everything.
Yeah, because she's got to get her job back. So she's
Yeah.
got to get this guy who's no longer singing, but this famous Christmas pop song and do it for charity. And she's using her power for good, but and he's along for the ride for whatever reason. But Rachel, the most important question I have is, how did you feel about her coats? Because, wow,
Yeah.
like she looked she looked good sometimes and then not sometimes. The wardrobe choice, like she had this huge coat, and I was like, why did you do that to this poor lady?
That is
Not that she
true.
looked bad, but it was just I don't know why you would have a coat like that.
Yeah, it's true. Like it didn't seem like her outfits fit her well. They didn't have
No.
it well costumed in that way.
Mm.
And I don't know, they just didn't have any spark together. And they've worked together in the past, so you think they might,
Yeah.
but it just wasn't. This didn't even really need to be a romance. Like it might as well have just
No.
been the two of them working on getting this guy, Dan Cochran. He was the one hit wonder. They're trying to get him to say,
Wouldn't it have been
like,
better if it sort of was just her and the one hit wonder guy? Maybe cast him a
yeah,
little bit younger and
I
have
thought
that
about
sort
that.
of,
Or like, make,
yeah.
yeah, I was like, why didn't they just make Jake Epstein the one hit wonder guy? Like, he
Yeah.
basically could have been like Hugh Grant's character in About a Boy. In that
Hmm.
movie, he has a one hit wonder Christmas. Well, he doesn't have it. His dad wrote a one hit wonder Christmas song, and he's basically like coasting off of the royalties of this song in that movie, and you know, like somebody kind of like that had like the one hit wonder, but it's just kind of like coasting. They,
Right.
you know, it could have been better,
Yeah. Because, like, he
but
was, like, why was he there for so much? Like, there's no particular reason, but
mhm,
he's there.
it's
And
true.
so I
Yeah,
think it
like
would have worked better had he been the artist. But it's
yeah, I
very
agree.
watchable, you know.
Yeah,
It has its moments.
yeah. I would give this like I'd give this one like a 2.75.
Same.
Yeah, yeah. You didn't get to see it, right, Michelle?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed because the both of them were in Degrassi together, so it's surprising to hear that they don't have the chemistry didn't cross over into this.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, well,
Which
a few years have passed, but yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which generation because, like, oh, I go so old school with your Degrassi. I
So
don't
it's
even know when.
so next generation it was. So it
Oh,
was
all right. I
like,
think I was out by then.
You know, I'm looking at Jake Epstein's filmography, and as charming as he is, it's not that good. It's kind of
Mm.
terrible. I guess evidently this unwrapping Christmas movie he did was terrible. Like it's usually
Oh, I
not this
have yet
fault.
to see them.
I've heard it's not good, but we'll see. We were watching all those this week. But there's this Laughing All the Way, which was mediocre last year. The Wedding Contract, I did not like at all. Um, I didn't like Eight Gifts of Hanukkah. Story But Christmas, I didn't like. Mistletoe and Menorahs, I didn't like. It's just kind of weird when somebody that I feel like he should. It's just sort of weird when somebody gets unlucky, you know?
Mm.
That you're
yeah,
like,
Yeah.
this guy should be. He's so
it sort of
charming. Why isn't he in better
yeah,
movies?
it sort of reminds me of like Chad Michael Murray in sense of like he
Uh-huh.
started off so well. I think his first movie was so, or one of his
Uh,
first movies. I can't remember what it was, but
The Road to
I remember
Christmas, yeah.
we were all like taken with him and like, oh, he's going to be so good, and it's just what happened for him.
But the thing is that Chad Michael Murray, to me at least, it just seems like he's like phoning it in
Hmm.
performances. Whereas like I don't feel that way about Jake. He just has had bad luck. It's just not that great of movies. I never feel
Yeah.
like, oh, he's not trying.
Yeah.
I know it's weird.
No, no.
It's weird. But speaking of Chad Michael Murray, let's talk about The Merry Gentleman. And this was on Netflix, and it is directed by our friend Peter Sullivan, friend of the podcast, and writers Jeffrey Schneck, Peter Sullivan, Marla Sokoloff, and stars Britt Robertson, Chad Michael Murray. And to save her parents' small town performing venue, a former big city dancer decides to stage an all male Christmas themed review. It seems like I'm the only one that liked this movie. It's not like a great movie, but I did think it was like somewhat refreshing with how like chaste and safe like most of these movies are in this genre. To have something that like was like a little bit spicier was refreshing. And I thought it like didn't take itself too seriously. Was I don't know. I just had fun with I thought it was fun. But it's not like a masterpiece or anything, but I don't know. I just feel like I'm the only one that had like fun with it. Uh, you didn't enjoy it, right, Michelle? You weren't a fan.
It's not that I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I was looking forward to it. I mean, I'm obsessed with One Tree Hill still to this day. Like, I really like Brit. And all of the TV shows that she's done. She's been unlucky in the movie world, but
Yeah.
her TV stuff has been really good. So I thought it was a good casting. And then also the trailer was like surprised.
Very silly.
Yeah. I think my disappointment comes from the fact that when I realized it was a Save the Blank, I was just kind of like, oh,
Oh no.
I was just like, yeah, it
Yeah.
just feels like we've seen a million of them. Um, it did surprise me in the sense of like the end didn't turn out the way that I expected. I expected her to stay, but I expected her to stay and like run the business. And like the parents would retire and things like that because that just feels like what happens in these movies.
Uh-huh.
So that was like the one little thing that I was like, oh, that was quite surprising. But yeah, I think when I realized what it was plot wise, I was just kind of like out a little bit.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it's
the
not like an
chemistry was
amazing
fine. It
plot.
wasn't like it wasn't like amazing chemistry, but yeah, I've definitely seen worse in these movies.
Yeah, I mean, and the dancing was fun.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable. And I think a lot of people seemed annoyed about the fact that she gives up being in this, she gets fired from the show at the beginning and then she gives up in order to stay in the small town, which can be super cringe. But I
Mhm.
guess for me, like I didn't find it that unbelievable because they literally fired her. Why would she like be that compelled to go back? It's not like it's one thing if you get the big role and then but she had already basically she'd been doing that grind for a while. So I don't know. I didn't mind that. I didn't feel like she needed to go back and do that role. But
Mhm.
yeah, it didn't feel like it was like unfeminist of her to like decide to stay in the town. Like there was
Mhm.
that movie with Sarah Lancaster for Hallmark where she wants to get the Broadway role. She hasn't gotten it. She goes back, she meets Brendan Penny and ends up helping the kids. And she decides not to take the Broadway role that's given to
Oh
her
yeah.
and
Yeah.
stay in the small town. The reason why that annoyed me is she'd never gotten the chance.
Mhm.
Ooh,
She
that was
finally
the
gets her big.
era. Yeah, the era of Hallmark where all women give up work to go back home to
For
Yeah,
the
small
small
town,
town
yeah.
for a
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
like so she could have easily had both, and that's what annoyed me. Is she
Yeah.
could have easily gone and done the Broadway role in her big dream, and then come back and you know hung out with the kids and Brendan Penny. Whereas this, like she had gotten that, she'd done it, she'd done the grind. So I guess she hadn't had the lead, but she'd been there. She'd been doing that whole scene for a long time. So I didn't feel like offended for her that she decided, no, I'm not going to go back there. To me, I know I'm overthinking a very silly movie, but still, I heard that critique a lot. And I'm like, it didn't bother me.
Mm.
But
I haven't seen it, but I do love that calendar they put out with Chad Michael
oh,
Murray.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like it was so funny. October had me rolling, like just like the silliness of it. So, I mean, is it silly like that or is it a little too serious?
I thought it was silly like that. I had
Okay.
fun with it on that level. And I mean, Chad Michael Murray has been phoning it in his Hallmark
Mm-hmm.
movies for a while now,
Yeah.
Oh, and
especially,
most of his Christmas movies that are non-Hallmark as well, he's been phoning it in.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when he was in that one that was supposedly the reality dating show, I mean, what? That was so
Rachel,
bad.
I like that movie. I don't know why everybody's so.
Oh,
I
it
mean,
was
it's not perfect, but
terrible.
it's okay.
No, no, it was so bad. And and the Yeah, he just had like a bunch of clunkers
Yeah,
and
it's true.
yeah. And so this, at least it felt like he was having fun. He was kind of in on the joke.
Okay, for someone who hasn't watched it and like, I don't have Netflix, I'll get Netflix for this. How was The Men? Like, if I wanted eye candy,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
okay,
it
Oh yeah.
delivers on the
all right.
men. Would you say, Michelle?
Sorry?
Would you say delivers on the men?
Yeah, like 100%. Yeah.
Okay. See, now that's just go. It's silly eye candy. You know, there you go.
Yes. I would give this one 3.5 out of 5. I enjoyed it well enough. It was fun enough for me. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a 3. Yeah, again, there's nothing like terrible about this movie. It's perfectly fine.
For the
It's just a
plot.
plot. Yeah, just a
Yeah.
plot I'm so tired of.
I know.
I think it's fine
Seriously.
if you watch like one or two of these movies a year, it's fine. But when you watch all of them,
Oh,
it's
yes, yeah.
At least they didn't do the whole we can save the we can save the pub by building the condos over on top. That's like the latest
Because that does not work, by the
that's like
way.
the latest wrinkle in these movies is like, wait, I can save the day by building on top of the
So
you see
many
that
movies
on a
have used
bunch of
that
them.
plot now. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's not the way engineering works, but you know.
No, they're just gonna knock your building down, build it, and then build like storefronts on the bottom. That's what they would
Yeah.
do. They wouldn't save your building.
We'd like to take a second to thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Mistletoe at Jameson Ranch, the new clean, uplifting romance and entry in the Teacher Project by writer Anna Grace. Award-winning author Anna Grace is back with another installment in her heartwarming series, The Teacher Project. 5 teachers are recruited to revive a high school in the tiny cantankerous town of Pronghorn, Oregon, shaking up the community and creating friendships to last a lifetime. In Mistletoe at Jameson Ranch, Nashville lawyer Harlow Jameson returns to Pronghorn to find big changes to her little town and new faces, including Vander Torn, a gorgeous teacher and cowboy in training. Harlow is roped into helping with the holiday pageant, and Vander's showing her a whole new side of Pronghorn and herself. But is a picture-perfect Christmas season enough to bridge the gap between the city girl and her sweet cowboy? Mistletoe at Jameson Ranch has been called the perfect Christmas read by early reviewers and is available at all the major retailers and online. You can use the affiliate link below. That's Mistletoe at Jameson Ranch by Anna Grace. We know you'll love it. So next, you both, I think, watched our Festival of Trees
Mm-hmm.
from on
Mm-hmm.
Up TV. Is directed by Drew Waters and writers Aaron Bethia, Deborah Moore, Brian Walsh, and this stars Josie Davis and Kate Miner. And it's Jackie's future as a designer could rest on winning the annual Festival of Trees competition, but coming up with the perfect design means she will have to remember what Christmas is really all about. So, Terry, overall, what do you think about this one?
I thought it was cute.
Uh-huh.
It was better than what I expected it to be. And I was like having a good time watching it. I was like, oh wow, I mean it's not the greatest thing to watch, but I liked her and I liked her friends, and it was, we've got mustache twirling evil fashion designers, but or whatever they were, the interior decorators, not fashion designers, but I don't know, I just thought it was cute. Like it had a kind of sweet message, because she's helping the kids out. But like, if you had to watch something, this wasn't going to, your eyes were not
Were,
going to fall out of your head,
were the Christmas trees sufficiently
Actually,
like
I will say
epic?
yes.
Okay.
I will say this wasn't just like threw cardboard on there and say, look how beautiful it is. No, they went out with some of these trees. So the production
Okay.
design, thank you.
Because they did
Um,
one for I happened to watch on Great American Family. I think it was last year. There was
yes,
a
that
similar plot,
actually,
and the trees were
yeah, the trees
lame.
were terrible in that one. I saw that one someplace else before it gave on that one. I can't remember. But yeah,
Yeah.
those trees were like, dollar store.
Yeah, they really were. It was
decoration.
like that is not
No,
good enough.
like the few trees they focused on, they were really nicely done. Production
Okay.
went out and did a pretty good job in that aspect.
Mm.
I don't know how her tree won. Her tree was very nice and sentimental, but like there were others that I thought looked better when they panned through them. But yeah, the
Yeah.
meaning. Of course she was gonna win. This is a holiday movie. You know, there's no
Yeah.
surprises here.
So,
I Yeah, I'm sorry.
and I think the guy is Greg Perero. Pero. Is it much of a love story in this one, or is that more of an
No, there
afterthought?
is. They have very their meet cute is actually kind of funny because they're like shopping for ornaments and she has a sort of argument with her rival, a disagreement. So she's very upset and he just happens to see her with ornaments and he's like, "Hey, could you help me? I'm trying to look for a special ornament." And she just blows up at him. "I'm a professional. I'm good at my job." And she just walks away and he's like, "Okay, somebody had a bad day." That was actually pretty funny. And they continue to have run-ins like that because he owns the
Mm,
Christmas tree farm. But yeah, and of course he's got a sick little girl, and but the romance angle was okay. I think they had
uh-huh.
chemistry enough, but I don't know. Maybe it's because like I've been watching not the greatest Christmas movies, but I was charmed by this one.
Yeah.
It's very simple, and there's not much happening, even though they're doing a lot. I don't know if that even makes any sense,
Yeah.
but you know,
What did you think of it, Michelle?
Yeah, I like this one as well. I'm not like
yeah.
super familiar with the Up movies. I don't tend I don't think I watched many last year either. So I'm trying to make an effort this year. Um, yeah, I thought it was perfectly fine, and um, thought the trees looked amazing.
Yeah.
Even for somebody like me who's been surrounded by Christmas trees since October, like that's been my job is making up Christmas trees. But yeah, I thought I was a little surprised that the love interest was introduced a little bit later on than what I expected.
hmm
Um, so I felt like there was a lot of setup before we actually got to him, but I haven't seen him in anything before. I thought he was really charming. I liked their
Mm,
Yeah.
dynamic. I liked their
hmm
best friend. I love that they had
Oh, she was
somebody with,
amazing.
yeah, she was amazing. She had like this kind of like gothic style, which you don't tend to see in these movies at all. So I appreciated that. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is one of the ones that I enjoyed the most.
mm.
Yeah.
Out of the ones that I
So
watched.
so what would you give it? What score?
I'd give it a. Don't want to go 4. Give it a 3.75.
Mm. Terry, what
Same.
about you?
Yeah. The same.
Same.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
good.
surprisingly enjoyable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Oh,
don't
that's
go
good.
overboard. It's a very simple plot and they
I
don't
was yeah, I was
overload it. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was about to say that they don't try too hard.
hmm
Uh-huh.
It's like yeah, it's not overdone. It's like sometimes
Yeah.
it's enough to just go simple.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's simple in that
Don't
it's
try too
straightforward.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Don't
true.
like, yeah.
It's like you know your lane, you know what you're trying to
Mhm.
do.
Yep.
Well, Terry, you have two royal movies that you
hmm
saw that you can report on. A Merry Royal Christmas and Royally Yours This Christmas. You're a big fan
Yes.
of the royal movies. What do you think of these two?
Uh, you know what? They're fine.
Uh-huh.
They're fine. They're on Amazon Prime freebie, so you just watch them with commercials. So the A Merry Royal Christmas is basically she's a wedding planner, and she gets a job to plan a wedding for this princess. She's going to get married. She travels to a foreign country with her little daughter, and the princess has to give, because she's marrying a commoner, she has to give up her title to her brother um, in order for her to get married. There's a whole ceremonial thing. I was a little nervous because he was like, "I don't want to be king, I just want to be, plain regular me and help out charity." And I'm like, "Okay, you're not regular."
So is she
And
planning? Is she planning the princess's
the
wedding, or
princess's wedding, yes,
okay?
the
Because
prince is
this
going to
summary,
take over.
the
Yeah.
summary on IMDb says that she's shocked to later discover is the prince whose wedding she is planning. So he's not like
No,
emotionally cheating.
no, there's no cheating at all there.
Okay,
They do help each other plan the wedding. He's very involved. It's his sister's wedding. Plus, there's
sister's
also,
wedding. Okay.
yeah, the ceremony where he has to say, I accept the role because she's passing it up. And he's very like, so much tradition. We got to change it up here. I was worried it was going to be one of them movies, but there's a nice little twist where like, maybe the princess doesn't have to give up being queen, you know? It's one of those stories like,
Mm,
and maybe he could still be the spare and have a happy life, you know? I don't think they had much chemistry.
mm.
Um,
And Princess Diaries to it. Be like,
mm,
oh, at the end we can change the law.
I don't know why they didn't change the law earlier, but yes, basically that's it, you
Yeah.
know? And we see them together and I don't know. I mean, it's not bad, but it's I guess it's better than a lot of these royal movies because nobody's crying about being rich and privileged. You know, he's just because he's not a bad guy. He's up
Hmm.
kind of upset that his sister. He says, "I think my sister, she loves this man so much, but I think she would be a good queen. I don't know if she completely wants to give up, the throne." And the sister is worried that she's being too selfish and passing that on to her brother. So there's that family aspect to it too. So it does change it up from the, oh, poor rich me, I want to be normal and
Yeah.
sell flowers.
I'll
So
probably try to catch up on this just because I love Catherine so
yeah,
much.
she's good. She's actually really good. Her hair is
Yeah.
amazing in the movie. It's
Yeah.
just like this sounds so creepy, but I was like, I wish I could run my hand through her hair. I'm sorry, but it just looks so luscious.
Yeah, she has beautiful hair. That's what was the only disappointing thing about uh Santa. Oh my gosh, my brain this morning is just not all there. The ridiculous movie of Style and Santa, movie.
Oh yes.
Santa's Got Style. There's something about Santa's Got Style is they had her with the straight hair.
Oh, I know
I'm
that was
like,
a
why would you
shame.
do that? Her hair is like so beautiful.
That movie's so good too. Now I want to
It
watch
is
that
so
one.
good. Yeah, yeah.
But like I
So,
I think yeah.
so then this other one, Royally Yours, this Christmas. So is that the weaker of the two?
I would say yes, but essentially this is if you've ever seen the movie Made in Manhattan,
Uh-huh.
this is pretty much it.
I like
She is
that.
she's a maid in a hotel and her friend works there too and she's got a daughter. She's a single mom. And they're like, "Hey, put on this dress." And they're in the room of this rich woman and she happens to not be there at that time. She puts on the dress. The prince happens to walk in because he's interacting with her daughter and he thinks she's somebody else and they spend the entire movie like he is there simply to help raise money for a charity. He's trying to show his father that he can do this stuff, to get his father's approval. And of course, they have to throw in, I gotta save the Christmas theater that I direct these plays at. And of course, they had to throw that in. And then what happens when the truth comes out? And I was like, oh, it's made in Manhattan. And
So
they're
what
both kind of not great. So,
yeah. So what would you give both of these?
mm, this is tough. Like I want to say 2 point something, but if out of five, I guess maybe a 2.7. They're
Yeah.
entertaining in the moment, but like it at least they don't want to give up the throne to make chocolates or some bizarre thing like that. So I'll give those movies credit. They're royal in that aspect. Because I'm really so tired of, the oh poor me, I'm rich, I'm privileged,
I
I don't want
know,
to
it's so
win.
hard
I mean,
being
it's
famous.
ridiculous. So at least these guys are like, no, I don't want to give up being royal.
Yeah.
So yeah.
an incredibly hard schedule of like kissing babies and welcoming people to the castle. It's a tough life to be a royal these days. Well, Michelle, we talked about it a little bit last time, and you have the short with your thoughts on Terrifier 3. But this is your first time to actually get to report on the podcast. You went and saw this movie. You've seen the other two, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um,
Yeah, Rachel made me. She said, "Listen,
No.
you're the horror."
Oh no, Rachel! Such a
I'm joking.
taskmaster.
I'm joking. Yeah, Rachel was like, "Please don't," and I was like,
It's like,
"It's like
you
a
don't have
challenge."
to.
Yeah, it was like a challenge to me. Yeah,
Yeah, is it like a bit of Christmas in the movie?
yeah, like
Yeah.
I think I got like maybe it's a long movie. It's a really long movie. I think I got maybe half an hour in, and I was like, "Oh, yeah, we need to talk about it on the podcast because it's a Christmas movie." Like, it's definitely a Christmas movie. It's set
Yeah.
all throughout Christmas. So yeah, I
Okay.
didn't like the first one. I'm such a horror person, but horror has all of its subgenres,
Right.
and there's a subgenre of horror which is splatter horror,
Uh-huh.
which is just like really hardcore, grim stuff. Um, which I'm not really into, but this is the first one in a while that has really crossed over into the mainstream.
Yeah.
It tends to be a lot of like really saturated horror now. It's just really watered down, and it's not what it was in the 80s and even the 90s.
Yeah.
Um, and I did try and watch it when it first came out, the first one, which is in 2016. It wasn't for me. I think I got like a little bit into it and stopped, and then I tried again last year and watched the whole thing. And it's fine for what it is. I will say the main actor is incredible. Like his physicality is incredible. The writing, not so incredible. The just like blatant like hate towards
Yeah.
women is just like it is blatant. And I've listened to a few interviews with the director, and he really tries to defend himself and say that that's not the case. And it's hard to hear that, and then you see it on screen and it's just like undeniable. And I went. The first one is very like
Yeah.
indie. The second one, I think, a lot of it crossed over into the mainstream, and then a lot of complaints where there's no mythology here, there's no like final girl, there's nobody to root for. So in the second movie, he gives you all of that. And the first movie, 90 minutes, it's short and sweet. The second movie, 2.5 hours.
Oh my
Two
gosh.
Wow.
and 2.5 hours. Like there's
Wow.
nothing there's
And it's
nothing
not like
worse.
parodying anything, right? It's not like the
No,
Scream
no,
movies where they're kind of parodying those
no,
things.
it's really, really like harsh and brutal. Um I mean, there's not a worse feeling in the world when you're not enjoying a movie and then you pause it to like take a break and there's still like an hour to go. Like that's how
Oh
I felt
no.
during the second. I was like, how is there still an
I
hour?
know.
But yeah, he added in all of this mythology. So spoilers for the terrifying movies, which I don't think I need to say on this podcast, but put it out there. In the first movie, he is a real guy. He dies in in the last act,
Uh-huh.
and he's revived. So in the second movie, he is now supernatural, and so he is indestructible at this point. And the way that they introduce the mythology is that if they have something that's so evil, they then have to have something good to fight it, and that's how we get our final girl. And
Mm.
so that carries on into the third movie, which kicks off on I think a week before Christmas, and then it's just all throughout. Like the movie is just Christmas, and again,
Wow.
I think he's incredible. And I think if you can handle that kind of thing and you want something different to watch, it's certainly that. But again, it is really brutal. I know for a lot of people they just can't cope with it. But I find it to be so beyond what is
Yeah.
in any way realism that it's just ridiculous. Like some of these
Mhm.
scenes just carry on so far to the point of like it's cartoonish at this point. It's not
Yeah.
real. And again, that's still a lot to handle. But
Yeah.
again, if you want something different, and you can handle it, you go
Well,
for it.
we appreciate you taking that bullet for the
Yeah.
This one's the one with Art the Clown, right?
Yeah, Art the
Yeah,
Clown.
yeah. I mean,
I
yeah,
will say
he's
that I haven't seen any of these movies, but that look is I hate clowns, so it's terrifying to me. So,
yeah.
he
And
has
like
such
he
an
even
iconic look now. Like
hmm
in
Yeah.
Halloween, that was everywhere. I saw Art,
yeah.
I saw him everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have heard people say that he's like the big horror icon since like Freddy Krueger. I would
Mm,
fight back on that a little bit and say
yeah.
like Pennywise and
Oh,
Ghostface and things like that are,
Oh
up
yeah,
there as
definitely.
well. But yeah, it's he's incredible. Like his physicality, like there's really nothing like it in terms of in horror. I just wish it was in a better movie, a better written
yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Interesting.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
Let's change tone, that's for sure. So there's this movie Jingle Bell Love. Which one of you saw this one? I forget.
I
You
saw
it,
it.
Terry?
Yeah, it's from Roku TV, Roku
Okay,
channel,
yeah.
whatever
So
it is.
this one has Michelle Morgan, our friend from Heartland, in it, and it's got Joey McIntyre,
Mm.
and it's widower Jack Cooper's daughter schemes to set him up with a charming local during their Christmas visit to his late wife's hometown. So that sounds pretty basic, but
Yeah, but it's a save the something.
is the what?
It's a save the something, whatever.
Oh,
It's
right.
for her, it's her bakery. Oh, and guess
Oh,
what he does for a living, Rachel? Real estate.
real estate. He's a
Oh,
big
and
bad
what's
real
he
estate.
also there while visiting
Nobody
his
kind in
family?
real estate.
Yes, what is he doing there visiting his family and work-wise? Oh, his company wants to buy the bakery? Huh, didn't see that coming. Oh, wait. And, does she not know and he tries to help her? Yes. Like, I was like, I have seen this movie 1,000 times before. Again, like Michelle said, there's nothing bad about that, but when you watch like 100 Christmas movies a
Yeah.
year, this is like nails on a chalkboard.
Well, and if they don't like do something to kind of like make it a little bit original,
Yeah.
to draw you in, or they
They
don't have like
sing
amazing
though.
chemistry, any chemistry between these two?
No.
No.
I gotta say, this movie is very stiff acting wise. Like, it doesn't look bad. It's serviceably made, but you could tell it's cheap.
Is there
And
any music in this?
yes, because he sells real estate, but he did sing and he writes music, and his wife was also musical because her parents own a music store and they teach music as well.
So that
So
doesn't
there's that
elevate it,
aspect. Yeah,
the
he
music?
worked real estate because they had a child and bills needed to get paid. Oh, I forgot. He has a mustache twirling girlfriend as well who works in
Mm.
real estate. So we have that. But does she ever sing on
No.
the
She's never,
show?
I don't think she's ever
Okay,
sung.
then you
Some of
have
the
been
other,
spared. Yes.
like Amy sung a little bit, Jackie
Because
sung.
I
I don't
do
think
wonder
I don't
because
think
she
Lou
goes
has
up
ever
and
sung.
yeah, no, because she goes up to sing karaoke and I was like, this is awful. And then when they sing a big duet together at the end, she sounds somewhat better and I was like, I
Mm.
never want to hear this lady sing again. I don't think he sounded I don't think he sounded that great either. And we know Joey McIntyre can sing.
Huh.
I've known since I was a little girl, from New Kids on the Block. Oh my God, I'm so
Well, that's
old.
too bad. I was excited for Michelle to have a lead like this.
Mhm.
I
It's too
mean,
bad that it's not that great.
I think that they were doing the best that they could with
Hmm.
what they had. was given to them.
Yeah.
Mm.
And
Do you
like,
remember Michelle as Lou ever sung? I don't think she has.
I think if anything, it's probably didn't they do like a big group number, and she was like in the background,
Oh, well, yeah, maybe.
but it was
Maybe
like
a group
it's
number.
basically Amy and Jack that sang it.
Yeah, they're the main. If there's
Yeah.
a singer, then it's those
I
two.
just I think they were both kind of not great in the singing department. I don't know. It's just
Yeah,
things kind of, I was like, ooh,
that's too bad.
or maybe it's just because the movie just didn't work for me.
Mm.
I feel like they tried, but it just didn't pull it together. Like after seeing, like Joey McIntyre was in that VC Andrews movie on Lifetime, which is so over the top. Those movies are so over the top, and he was fun in it because he was playing such an over the top bad guy. And I was hoping that he would bring some of that like energy here, but he's like really flat and he's subdued and he's like, poor me, you know.
Mm.
Lasai. Like basically the whole, I mean, there's no energy in this movie either. And
Mm.
Mhm.
That's too
it's
bad.
I mean, I don't
Yeah,
want to tell people not to watch it if they want to watch it. By all means, watch whatever you want. It just didn't work for me.
yeah. So what would you give it? Like two?
Yeah.
Two. So then our last one is Nugget is Dead, A Christmas Story.
Mm-hmm.
So what is this? I forget.
Uh, I really like this one. But basically it's an Australian movie. It gave on CBS. And Nugget is the dog. And so we've got this lady, and the movie starts with her talking to her psychiatrist, and she's like, I'm spending, Christmas with my boyfriend and his normal family. My family is so over the top. They're terrible people. But she has yet to tell her family that she's not coming over. And she's a
Huh.
very anxious person. And then she gets a call from her mother that their family dog Nugget is sick. And that's what prompts her to go back home for Christmas. Now, is her family a lot to deal with? Yeah. Her parents are separated, but they still live together. Her brother's a nice guy. She's got a busybody and uncle. Her cousin is always in workout gear and sells fake eyelashes.
Oh no.
And she's engaged. But it turns out, what I love most about this movie is she's like, my family is terrible. But is her family terrible or is she really terrible? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, is she the one who is super judgy and her family might be a little over the top, but not as bad as she is? And it's just like a kind of making fun of the dysfunctional family type, but her cousin does her fake eyelashes. I gotta say, she looked pretty good after the eyelashes were on. And she's like, ooh, I look good. Maybe I was too judgy. But she gets an infection, so she's got to wear an eye patch over her eye
Oh no.
the entire time. And then the son invites his online buddy who they're in Australia. He doesn't have his family there. And he's like, oh, he's lonely for Christmas. And his mom thinks he's gay. And she's like, of course, bring him over. You're a special friend. And so this and then the boys are like, no, no, we're not gay. We're actually really just friends. It's really funny. And also the daughter is kind of flirting with the veterinarian. She's got a special bond with her, and because her boyfriend is crappy, and so she's kind of flirting with the veterinarian who's trying to help Nugget.
Mm.
So there's that angle too, like you would expect. But I don't know, I found it didn't grate on my nerves. I laughed at it very much, and if you like this kind of madcap family Christmas, I mean, does the
That's
dog
good.
die?
I'm glad you heard about it because I had not even heard of this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you caught
The
it.
only
Yeah.
reason I knew that this movie existed was because I was watching Ghosts on CBS and a commercial for it popped up.
Oh,
Mm.
And I was like,
cool.
oops, new Christmas movie I gotta watch. But
Yeah. I really want to track
yes,
this one down. I think like Australian humor is just the best.
Yeah.
yeah, it is. It is really funny. It's um I know you can watch it on Paramount Plus and you can watch it on the CBS website. But I think
Okay.
it's from Bob from I can't remember now the name of the show. They do have a popular show on. I think that gives on Paramount Plus and CBS.
Okay.
But
So
this
what
was
would you give
actually
it?
really funny.
What
I
would
would
you
give
give it?
it I'm going to give it a 4 because I just loved the dynamic. I mean, she is going in, you know that she's so terrible. And I'm like, what? Your family ain't that bad. But it really is. It's like, is the family bad or is she just bad?
Yeah.
And but the boyfriend is also bad, and but it's. I mean, spoiler alert: does the dog die? It's in the title, so be prepared for some feels. If you don't like watching that, an
Yeah, this is
animal
a
being
very
sick.
strange title, but
Yeah,
hey.
because it's basically he's sick. I mean, he's an older dog, and you do get like little flashbacks, like video flashbacks, like home movies of like the dog with them since they were little. So this is like a
An older
beloved
dog.
family pet that they've had for years. But I enjoyed it. This was
That's
quite
good.
a pleasant surprise.
Good to hear. Well, let us know if you're listening what you think. If you got to see any of these movies, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And if there's others that are not Hallmark that we missed, we haven't covered in the last 2 episodes, then we would love to hear your thoughts on those and suggestions, because we can always make up and watch them for next week. And so, yeah, we'd love to hear that. And thank you to both of you. And Terry, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter at Flurry Heaven.
Right. And Michelle?
On Twitter at Michelle R. Benson.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure you're following the podcast, Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That helps us so much, and we appreciate it so much. And if you are watching or listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have our Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support us. And this month we have as our Q&A patron event, we have Julie Sherman Wolf, writer extraordinaire, coming on for Q&A, and that's going to be a really cool experience. And any level of the Patreon can participate in these experiences. So please take a look at that. And we have our merch store where we have our new designs, movie-inspired designs, including Christmas Story, Die Hard, Christmas Carol, It's a Wonderful Life. All of that is all in the merch store. So check that out. And thanks so much to both of you. And Merry Christmas. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.